Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's session, we will dive into the world of GitHub advanced interview questions. Now, these questions are designed to test your knowledge, problem solving skills, and also your hands-on knowledge on GitHub. Once again, before I start off with the session, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So let's dive into this. The first question I have is, what are GitHub Actions and how do they enhance the CI/CD workflows? Now, GitHub Actions, these are simply your automated workflows that you can create, and these allow you to define and execute any of your custom CI/CD tasks. So if you want to implement CI/CD on GitHub, we can make use of your GitHub Actions for that. So with this, we can basically define your CI/CD task directly within the GitHub repo itself. So we basically define a YAML file with the instructions as to what do you want to do, like your build, test, deploy, all those instructions we can define within the repo itself, which is where we can make use of your GitHub Actions. Now, these provide us with a powerful and integrated solutions, and we can use it to build our applications, test our application, also deploy our applications to different environments. And this will help us to streamline the entire development process and also improve the collaboration with other people within the team. So basically, if you want to implement CI/CD within GitHub, we can make use of your GitHub Actions for that. The next question we have is, explain the concept of GitHub Webhooks and how do you use them to automate tasks in a repository. So GitHub Webhooks are basically your HTTP callbacks, which are triggered by any events that happens within your GitHub repository. So your events can be your push events, it can be creating a pull request or any issue update. So whenever any of these events happen, if you want to trigger any jobs or any tasks, we can make use of your GitHub webhooks for that. So we can configure our webhooks to notify any external services, like for example triggering a Jenkins job, or trigger any automated actions like your CI/CD pipelines, or updating your issue trackers. We can also use this to sync our repositories with external systems as well. So whenever you want to take some actions based on the events that happens in your GitHub repo, we can make use of your GitHub webhooks for that. So we can use this to talk to external services like the third party tools. Like for example, classic example we have is your Jenkins. So whenever we push any changes to GitHub, automatically trigger a Jenkins job, we can make use of your GitHub webhooks for that. The next question we have is, what is the difference between Git and GitHub, and why is GitHub considered a popular choice for hosting Git repositories? So Git and GitHub, these are two different things. So Git is essentially a distributed version control system, and we can use this to basically keep track of the changes that we are doing in our code repositories. Whereas your GitHub is a web-based hosting platform that we can use to host our Git repository. So, whatever the repositories, the project repository we have, if you want to maintain those, we can make use of your GitHub for that. So one, it provides us with a web-based hosting platform. It also provides us with collaboration features, issue tracking, pull requests, and project management tools. So, if you want to collaborate with people, so you can make use of your GitHub. You can use it to keep track of your issues. You can create pull requests to merge your changes. And also, it provides us with project management tools. GitHub's popularity stems in its user-friendly interface, social coding features and integrations, and also extensive community support. So why GitHub is one of the very widely used? Because of the user interface, the friendly user interface it has, integration that it provides, and also the community support that it provides. The next question we have is, how do you manage permissions and access control in a GitHub repository? Now, GitHub can be used to control access to your repositories as well. So it provides us with granular access control settings, and this allows the repository owners to define user roles, permissions, and also branch protection rules. So you can protect your branches, you can define user permissions, what the users can do, whether they can push the changes or not. All those things can be controlled within GitHub. You can also manage your permissions at the repository level, branch level, or at the individual file level. And this will allow us to restrict access to specific users or teams based on their roles and responsibilities. So if you want to give access to a repository, or you want to give access to a branch or to an individual file, all those things can be controlled via GitHub. And this basically allows us to protect our repositories and only allow access to people who should be having access to those repos based on the roles and responsibilities that they have. The next question we have is, describe the process of forking a GitHub repository and creating a pull request. How do you contribute changes to an upstream repository? Now, forking can be used whenever you want to clone a repository from one GitHub account to another GitHub account. So this is simply creating a copy of the original repository in your GitHub account. For example, let's say I have a GitHub repo in my AWS account, in my GitHub account. Now, if you want to copy that repo to your GitHub account, we can make use of your forking for that. Now, this allows you to make the changes without affecting the original project. So once you fork the project, you can start making the changes without affecting the original project, which is my project in this case. Now, we can do this to contribute changes back to the upstream repo. For this, you can create a pull request from your forked repo, propose the changes to the repository owner, and then ask them to review and merge the changes in the original repo. So maybe you want to add a new feature to a project. You can do that in your account, and then you can create a pull request and ask the owner of that original repo to review and merge the changes in the original repository. So that's how you can merge the changes. The next question we have is, how do you use GitHub Actions to automate the deployment of a web application to a hosting platform like AWS, Azure, or Heroku? So for this, we can make use of your GitHub Actions. So we can create a GitHub Actions workflow where we will be doing a build, testing, and also deploying our web application to any of the hosting platforms. So for this, we will be using deployment specific actions, or we can write any custom scripts which will do the deployment for us. Now, by defining this deployment steps and the environment variables and also the necessary authentication tokens within the configuration of your workflow, you can automate the deployment process, and that way you can ensure you have consistency across the environment. So basically, you will be writing a YAML file with all of your steps, the deployment steps, and making sure we have all the necessary authentications, the environment variables, and all the steps. We can automate our deployment process to various environments by making use of your GitHub Actions. The next question we have is, explain the concept of GitHub Pages. How do you use GitHub Pages to host a static website? So GitHub Pages, it is simply a feature that we have in GitHub, and this allows us to publish a static website directly from a GitHub repository. So if you want to host a static website like a blog from your GitHub repo, we can make use of your GitHub Pages for that. For this, we will be creating a branch by the name gh-pages, or we can configure a specific folder within the repository as the source for your website. So basically the code or the HTML page. Now, once you do that, GitHub will automatically build and deploy the website whenever we push any changes to the repository, making it very easy to host documentations or any personal websites or any personal blogs. We can make use of your GitHub Pages for that. The next question we have is, how do you handle merge conflicts in a GitHub pull request? Describe best practices for resolving conflicts and maintaining code quality. So we know that merge conflicts can occur whenever there is a conflicting change between two developers. So whenever we encounter a merge conflict in GitHub in your pull request, we will need to resolve these conflicts manually. Now, we can either edit the conflicting files. Once that is done, we can mark those conflicts as resolved and then finally commit those changes within the repository. Now, it's very essential that we communicate with other contributors review the changes thoroughly, and also ensure that the merged code maintains the functionality, the readability, and also adheres to the coding standards. So, whenever we are resolving a conflict, we need to make sure we communicate with the other contributors as well, telling that, hey, I have resolved this conflict, and also ask them to review the changes thoroughly. In this way, we can ensure that there are no breaking changes, the functionalities are working as expected, the code is readable. So all those things needs to be maintained. All right, so that's where communication plays a very important role. The next question we have is, what are GitHub Actions, workflows, and job matrices? How do you define complex build and test pipelines using these features? So GitHub Actions, these are simply a workflows that allows you to define a series of jobs, and then each of these job contains one or more steps to automate your CI/CD task. So basically, your instructions or your custom scripts. Now, job matrices, these enable parallel execution of multiple job instances across different platforms. So it can be your operating systems or different environments or different configurations, and this helps improve the build efficiency and also the scalability. Now, by defining your workflow triggers, dependencies, and outputs, we can create complex multi-stage pipelines to build, test, and deploy our application. So GitHub Actions can be used to define our tasks for our CI/CD deployment. Job matrices can be used to enable parallel execution of these multiple jobs across different environments. The next question we have is, how do you use GitHub's code scanning and security features to detect and mitigate security vulnerabilities in a repository? So GitHub provides us with several built-in code scanning and security analysis tools. So we have tools like CodeQL and Dependabot that can be used to identify and remediate any security vulnerabilities, any code quality issues, and also any outdated dependencies that are there within the repository. So we can make use of these built-in tools for all these purposes. Now, by enabling automated security checks and also integrating with third party security scanners and also enforcing security policies, we can ensure we can enhance the code security and also mitigate any risks throughout the development life cycle. So we can have all the security checks in place. We can also make use of third party tools as scanners that will scan our code for any security issues. That way we have our code, we can enhance the security of your code and also mitigate any issues that might come throughout the development life cycle. The next question we have is, describe the benefits of using GitHub's issue tracking and project management features for collaboration and project organization. GitHub provides us with an issue tracking and project management tool. Now, these tools, they allow us to keep a track of our tasks, keep a track of our bugs, and also feature requests that we might be working on. In addition to that, we can also use these tools to prioritize our work and also coordinate with other collaborators who are working on projects. So you can think of it as a ticketing tool, which can be used to keep a track of the work that is being done, and also we can plan on the work that needs to be done and also collaborate with other contributors. We can also create and assign issues, label those issues, and also categorize the tasks. We can link issues to various pull requests and also visualize the project progress using boards, milestones, and project timelines. And this enhances the transparency, accountability, and also productivity of the team. So now that we are tracking everything, we have a transparency among all the contributors, we have accountability as to who is working on what, and also it improves the productivity of the team itself. The next question we have is, how do you automate code reviews and quality checks in GitHub pull request? Describe the use of code review tools, linters, and automated testing frameworks. So we can automate the code review and also quality checks when we are creating a pull request by making use of code review tools. So we have tools like CodeCov or Coveralls that can be used. We also have linters like ESLint or Rubocop that can be used. And also we have automated testing frameworks like Jest or PyTest that can be used to automate our testing. Now, by integrating all of these tools into our CI/CD pipeline, we can enforce we have a good quality standards that we are following, identify any potential issues way early in the development life cycle, and also ensure that the changes meet the quality criteria before merging the changes into your main branch or your develop branch. So we can make use of tools for all these purposes. The next question we have is, what are GitHub's versioning and release management features? How do you manage project releases and versioning using tags, releases, and change logs? So, GitHub provides us with versioning and release management features to simply keep track of the milestones of our project, publish releases, and also document the changes that are being done between different versions of our code. Now, we can also create tags which can be used to mark specific points within the repo history, publish releases with release notes and the various assets of the application, and also generate change logs to summarize the changes that are being done between the releases. Now, these features, they simply facilitate communication, collaboration, and also transparency around the project releases and updates. So, providing as much of information as possible, it helps to have a better communication with other people, collaborate with other people, also have a transparency on the work that is being done in terms of the application. The next question we have is, how do you integrate GitHub with external services and third-party tools using webhooks, APIs, and GitHub apps? So GitHub offers very extensive integrations with external services and also third-party tools. For this, we can make use of webhooks, APIs, as well as GitHub apps. Now, we can configure webhooks to trigger events and set up notifications in external systems. We can also interact with GitHub API to automate our tasks and retrieve the repository data. And also, we can develop custom GitHub apps to extend the GitHub's functionality and integrate with external workflows and tools. So we can make use of your webhooks to trigger custom tasks whenever an event occurs. GitHub APIs can be used to automate our tasks, and also we can integrate with the GitHub apps to extend the functionality to integrate with external workflows and tools. The next question we have is, describe the process of migrating repositories and workflows from other version control systems or CI/CD platforms to GitHub. How do you ensure a smooth transition and minimize disruption to existing workflows? So, migrating repositories and workflows to GitHubs involves very extensive planning, testing, and coordination to ensure we have a smooth transition and very minimal disruption of the work that is being done. Now, for this, we can make use of GitHub's import tools, migration guides, and automation scripts to migrate our code, migrate the issues, the pull request, and CI/CD configurations from other platforms. It's also very essential that we communicate with all the stakeholders, document all the migration steps that are involved, and address any compatibility issues or configuration challenges to ensure we have a successful migration project process. So essentially, put up a plan, test, and also coordinate with other people to ensure we have a smooth transition. Make use of the tools that your GitHub provides, the guides, and also any automation scripts that GitHub provides to simply migrate the code, the various issues, and the CI/CD configurations. And also make sure we are transparent with our communication, providing all the necessary communication to all the stakeholders, documenting all the migration steps that are involved to basically keep a track. That way, we can migrate from other platforms to GitHub. And that brings us to the end of our top 15 advanced GitHub interview questions. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please don't forget to leave a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon to get notified whenever I upload new content. If you have any specific topics that you would like me to cover, please leave them in the comments section. That's all for this session. I will see you in the next video.